everything you need to know about a Dodge Viper GTS. Every single week when I debut a video, I get more and more excited about the vehicles that I get to bring to you. And I think this one takes the cake, not only for me, but for car enthusiasts all over the world. Today, I get to talk to you about a Dodge Viper, a vehicle so iconic, so legendary that it's known all over the world as being one of the most ridiculous production vehicles ever made. Now, to understand this vehicle, we need to understand a little bit about where it came from. You see, back in the 80s, Chrysler, Dodge were making really boring, boxy vehicles. So, just like so many other automotive brands have done in the past, they needed something exciting, something to bring people back. Back in the 70s, Dodge was known for mopar, more muscles. So, in 1989, they debuted the prototype for a Dodge Viper. At the time, Chrysler actually owned Lamborghini, so they asked Lamborghini to cast a block for a V10 engine that they were going to put in to a raw sports car. A sports car so raw, it wasn't going to have air conditioning, traction control, windows, or even a roof. All it was going to have was a V10 engine, rear wheel drive, and a manual transmission. And man, oh man, did that recipe ever work. The first gen Viper was so popular, people went absolutely crazy, and it did exactly what Dodge wanted it to do, which was bring fans back to the brand. Then we got the second gen Viper, which took all of the heart and power and passion of the Viper and gave it a few more creature comforts just so that the masses would be more in love with this vehicle. You actually got glass windows, you got a roof, you got a few other little niceties, including door handles, so you can actually park it outside of your house at night and not worry about people breaking into it. Now, the first generation Viper had about 400 horsepower. The second generation Viper had about 500 horsepower. And then we came up with the third and fourth generation Viper. This was designed on an all-new platform, which was actually developed with the help of Mercedes. At the time of the third generation Viper, Daimler Chrysler were working together, and Mercedes actually owned the Chrysler brand. And as they were developing the third generation Viper, they're also in development of the Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG. Yes, the one with the gull-wing doors. So that's why a third gen Viper and a Mercedes SLS might share a few similarities to you. The SLS was even seen driving around with Viper body panels when it was in its development stages. Then, years later, we got the fifth gen Viper, which is this. This fifth gen Viper, which debuted in 2013, had the most amount of power ever seen. 640 horsepower, and they did that because they actually worked with McLaren to make sure that they engineered this engine just right to have optimal output. So although at one point in time, the Dodge Viper was one of the most American vehicles ever made, having over 75% of its components made right in America, we got a little bit of Mercedes, a little bit of McLaren, and a little bit of Lamborghini DNA packed inside this monster. I cannot believe that I get to talk to you guys today about this Dodge Viper. This Dodge Viper was generously loaned to me by the Legacy Auto Group, who has been so supportive of all my videos this year, and I can't wait to tell you just a little more about it.
I'm Jeff Batchelor, and I love cars. I love the look, I love the design, and I love the emotion that you feel. I love the history, brand stories, marketing strategy, and automotive trends. I love engineering, types of propulsion, engine specs, drivetrain, and performance, and I love the interiors, layouts, smell, and the gizmos and gadgets and bells and whistles. But I don't only love cars, I also sell them. If you love this content and want to chat about a purchase, text me at 416-523-6585. Now back to the video.
So the Dodge Viper was developed back in 1989, and the reason why they called it Viper is because when Bob Lutz was developing this car, the goal was to make a modern day Cobra. So there's no coincidence that there's a Viper and a Cobra that both have similar names. Now this 5th gen, this is a 2013 Dodge Viper GTS. In 2013, when you could buy this vehicle, there was 2 different versions you could get. An SRT variant, which was known as the base model, and then this, the GTS version, the Grand Kahuna, because this had a much nicer interior, much nicer suspension, and had all the track-ready goodies you could possibly imagine. You see, when they came out with this 5th gen Dodge Viper, they were no longer just looking for performance. They wanted people who were considering Porsches and Ferraris and other high-performance vehicles to take a second look at Dodge, because the performance numbers were there, so it had to have an interior and a ride and a comfort factor that would win some of those customers over. Now, as far as those competitors, although Dodge really wanted to attack the Porsche buyers by giving them Porsche-like performance for a price that was significantly less, there really aren't a lot of V10 front-engine, rear-wheel drive, manual transmission vehicles on the market, at least not in 2013. I can think of some Ferraris and some Bentleys and maybe some Aston Martins that still put a V8, a V10, or a V12 in front of the driver. But again, the performance numbers that these Vipers were putting down really put them in a class of their own. The driver feel, the way that they looked, and the way that they snapped necks every time they passed by, again, there really wasn't much competition compared to a Viper. Now let's talk performance. So, underneath of the hood of this Dodge Viper GTS is an 8.4 liter V10 engine. It's mated to a 6-speed Tremec transmission, and it puts all the power down to those big old rear wheels. Now this engine generates 640 horsepower, 600 feet-pound of torque, and will push this 3,500-pound puppy 0 to 60 in only 3.5 seconds. It runs a quarter mile in 11.3 seconds and even has a top speed of over 206 miles per hour. For you Canadians, that's 325 kilometers an hour. This thing is absolutely insane, and it howls as it goes down the street. All right, now let's talk about the design. And this design is so iconic, you know exactly what you're looking at when you see it. The curves and body lines on this vehicle are so recognizable, there's no way you're not going to recognize a Viper when you see it. Plus, there are certain design elements that they've kept consistent through all the Vipers, and a few things that no other vehicles have, which really made this such a radical design. Now, on this 5th generation Viper, it actually shares so many body lines with the 1st and 2nd generation Viper. You see, the Viper actually went away for a couple years, and before they could get it to come back, a team of designers brought in Bob Lutz and other people who helped design the original one and showed them this project, all before bringing it back to Chrysler for approval. This is the modern rendition of the 1st and 2nd gen Viper. It's not like the 3rd and 4th that so many people were either in love or not in love with design. This is the best looking version of the Viper that you can find. Now up here at the front, we can see we've got all new headlights. On the 1st, 2nd gen, we have very long, wide, squinty headlights. On the 3rd and 4th gen, we got big old, let's say, regular looking headlights. But these ones, these olive shape or these almond shaped ones that actually look like a snake eye, these are beautiful. Plus, at the time, one of the coolest things was having LED daytime running lights, was just this Viper had, again, ahead of most other makes and manufacturers. Now, there's no mistaking a Viper when you see the hood. You have a big giant air intake on the front, as well as heat extractors on both sides. Down below, we've got the actual bite of the snake right underneath, but subtly right here in that big air intake, we still keep that iconic Dodge crosshair grille. So again, some really nice Dodge design elements that they still kept in a Dodge Viper, even though I feel like the roundness of this vehicle looks like it was Italian inspired or European inspired. This is a sexy car. It's not a chunky, boxy muscle car. This car has lines that are guaranteed to turn heads. Other notable things up front here in the vehicle are some dedicated air vents that direct the air where it should be. Like I said, one on the hood for into the engine, one's in the grille that bring it into the wheel well, and even ones on the side that put air directly into the wheel arches to keep braking and other elements of the vehicle cool. Now, as we move along the side of the Dodge Viper, we can obviously see the wheels that put the power to the street. We have a staggered setup on a Dodge Viper. We've got 18 inches in the front, but we also have 19 inches in the rear. In the front, the tires are 295, but in the rear, the tires are 335, which is absolutely enormous. That's as wide as the rear tires on my Lamborghini Huracan. Now, inside here, we've got an upgraded brake rotor because this is the GTS. We've got upgraded brake calipers because this is the GTS, and this vehicle rolls on P0 Corsa racing performance tires. Now, as we move along the side, we see a big functional air intake here on the side. It looks like the gills of a snake. So again, keeping this animal-esque design in the car is amazing. Now, one of my favorite design lines on this entire vehicle is this S that runs from the window down the body and then down the side, okay? S like snake, S like GTS, looks like a Viper, and that exact same body line is one that you see on the first and second gen Vipers. This is probably one of the most important elements of this car that brings it to its past. When you look at the third or fourth gen Viper, it's just a sharp L line on the side of the vehicle, and it doesn't do the vehicle justice. If you saw a third and fourth gen, you know it was a Viper, but it really doesn't share any body lines of the original. That's why this fifth gen is so popular, because it looks like the classic, but it drives like something modern, all right? And then down below the doors, you see the side exhaust pipes. Again, iconic Viper, something they had and they went away with, and then they had again and they went away with, but it's so nice to see that they brought it back for the fifth gen Viper. By far, the best angle of this car has got to be the rear 3/4 angle, where you can see the beautiful lines running down the side of this Viper. You can see just how far that front fender extends from the doors. You can see that big giant air vent, you know, which looks like the gills on a snake or on a cobra. Plus, you can see just how wide these rear wheels are, and you can see the staggered setup that this car has as well. Now, because we've got side exhaust, we've got no exhaust in the back and just a really clean look with an air diffuser, which helps with the aerodynamics of the vehicle. Beautiful LED taillights with a honeycomb design, which I think really, again, goes with that snake theme of the vehicle. And then the best part right here, your third brake light right on the trunk lid, it is actually the Viper logo that illuminates to make sure that anybody behind you knows that a Viper just dusted them. Now, if you're wondering why this Dodge Viper GTS might look a little bit different than every other one that you've seen, that's because this was been wrapped in a matte PPF, giving this an even stealthier look than the Viper already comes from the factory. However, dealerships used to have Viper ordering stands set up in most of their dealerships. So you could actually see in person all the different colors you could order your Viper in, all the different interiors you could order your Viper in, and even the different stripe kits and accessories as well. This Dodge Viper GTS is a black exterior with a gorgeous sepia interior, which I can't wait to show you. Now, another really nice and iconic design element of the Viper is this reverse clamshell hood, okay? This is a iconic Viper element allows you to see this beautiful V10 engine, but what it also allows to see is that underneath this hood, you see the carbon fiber that this entire hood is made from. This 5th gen Viper has more carbon fiber in it than any other Viper in its past, which helps keep the weight down. It's very clear to see how little this hood weighs because I can just tug on it very slightly and you can see the jiggle in it. You know, the benefits of carbon fiber are A, being light, but also being very stiff and rigid. Now, if you've seen my video on the Audi R8 or even on my Lamborghini Huracan, I talk about the key. And if you're running a key you get with your Dodge Viper GTS, it's the exact same key you would get with a Jeep Cherokee. So although the key doesn't feel very fancy or very special, they did, however, put these flush door handles on the doors with an electronic popper, which gives this vehicle a very supercar-like feel. Now, the attention to detail doesn't stop there because Dodge knew that it was going to be a little bit difficult to get in and out of this vehicle. So we have this large aluminum kick plate to make sure that you're not scuffing up the side of your Viper when you get inside. Now, also remember, we've got side exhaust and Dodge wanted to make sure that customers did not burn their legs on it. So on top of this aluminum kick plate, we also have a warning reminding you once again that it's going to be very hot right outside the door. All right, I cannot believe that I am sitting inside a Dodge Viper GTS, and this interior does not disappoint. Forget everything you thought you knew about Mopar and Dodge. This interior is probably nicer than any interior of any vehicle I have ever sat in. This beautiful tan sepia interior is so striking. Oh my goodness. And the feel and quality of the leather in here is so freaking nice, and they didn't skimp out at all. We've got leather on the A-pillar. I've never seen that in a vehicle. We've got full leather from the top of the door all the way down to the bottom. We've got this beautiful perforated and quilted diamond stitched leather on the door, which really goes with the snake theme, and even down below, the door pockets are carpeted. They haven't left a single area bare, and again, the attention to detail is absolutely insane. On the dash of the vehicle, more of this leather, and it looks like it's all been hand stitched. You can actually see the wear of the leather like a baseball glove over time. But again, they did not skimp any areas. The entire steering wheel is leather. The shifter and the shift boot is leather. The entire center console that wraps the shifter and the shift boot is leather. The parking brake handle is leather, and even the passenger's holy handle is also leather as well. This interior is certainly one that was guaranteed to rival even the most premium and luxury sports cars at the time. Now, these seats are really, really nice as well. Very, very heavily bolstered, guaranteed to hold you really tight, and also a very stiff seat as well, which is going to be important when you take your vehicle to the track. You still have lots of power articulation. You can make the seat go up and down, forward and backward, and even change the lean of the seat. But even more importantly, for a manual vehicle, you also have the ability to power adjust the pedals. You can bring those pedals closer or further from you to make sure that you get the perfect driver feel. And if you thought the leather in this vehicle was nice, take a look up because the entire roof and vanity mirrors are wrapped in the nicest sepia Alcantara suede I have ever seen in a vehicle. All right, now that we're sitting behind the wheel of your Dodge Viper GTS, I love what Dodge has done with this interior. Not only high-end materials, but they've also made certain things Viper specific. The steering wheel pad has a Viper logo on the inside. On the side, although these are similar key buttons to other Dodge and Jeep vehicles, what's actually performed by these buttons is very different. On the right-hand side, we can instantly turn off the traction control and we can instantly get into launch control, all with buttons directed right on the steering wheel. Below that, we have your classic cruise control and then your menu orientation buttons on the side, and on the back of the wheel, we we still have your volume and radio controls, which Mopar has done so well for so long. As we stare through the steering wheel, we can see that there's a 7-inch customizable display screen for all the driver functions. And we can see your performance elements like the G-force on the vehicle. We can see your quarter-mile timing. We can have your 400-meter timing. We can have your 0 to 10-second timing. We can have so many things calculated and shown. We see that we've got a analog speedometer that goes all the way up to 340 kilometers an hour. And again, it truly is a performance vehicle. All right, now in the center console, we have a very familiar 8.4-inch Uconnect 4 infotainment system, which is going to be very familiar to all Dodge owners since they've been using this for so long. But remember, this vehicle was from 2013. So this was one of the first vehicles to get technology that they used all the way throughout, even up to 2021. You have the ability to see many different vehicle functions from your app screen. You can hold and drag your favorite functions and put them onto the hotbar, or when you select them from the hotbar, it brings it up to the full screen size display. We've got radio functions, media functions, an auto dimming rear view mirror. We've got single zone climate control and no heated or ventilated seats. We've got navigation from the time, and then we also have the ability to pair a phone. The most exciting feature of this screen is going to be your SRT performance pages. Now, once the performance pages load, you'll actually be able to see all the important performance and race features and information of this vehicle. You'll be able to see your timers, you'll be able to see your G-force, you'll be able to see your gauges to make sure you're not overheating if you're taking it to the track. You can see your horsepower and torque. Something that's really cool in this vehicle is you can actually select what home picture you want to have on your display here, ranging from a bunch of beautiful angles of your Dodge Viper, as well as making sure that it displays your Dodge Viper on the navigation displays in the proper color of your vehicle. And then you still do get manual buttons, which is a great touch. You've got your volume control and your radio control, your fan speed and your climate buttons. And then you also get 2 other unique buttons just to this Viper. You have an ability to change your suspension quickly into race mode or the more comfortable street mode. And if you're wondering what this beautiful gloss black pad is sitting in this beautiful interior, we'll press it up and it shows an old-fashioned cigarette lighter. On top of the millions of things that I love about this interior, I certainly love that we still get functional cup holders and they're out of the way of all your driving controls. You also get a nice pocket in the back to put your cell phone or keys and other things. And we even have another storage compartment right above. So right next to this beautiful GTS logo is a quick little button which allows you to open this storage compartment, which actually has quite a lot of storage. Perfect for sunglasses or anything else that you want to take with you. And now if you're wondering what kind of cargo you get with a Dodge Viper GTS, I'll show you the back. Now you can obviously open it right with the key fob. However, on the back, this design is so slick and so smooth, you don't see any buttons to open the trunk lid. However, tucked right on the side here, there is a tiny little button where if you press twice, will actually lift up this carbon fiber deck lid. Yes, not only is the hood entirely carbon fiber, but this entire hatchback is carbon fiber. In the trunk area, we get a very well-appointed carpet-lined cargo area, which is beautiful, and probably enough room back here for a set of golf clubs. So a surprising amount of cargo area that comes with your Dodge Viper GTS. So there we have it, folks, the Dodge Viper GTS. And never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that I was going to have one of these sitting in my driveway. Now, the Viper had so many ups and downs throughout its years in terms of being incredibly popular to being almost forgotten and even left behind. The vehicle was discontinued not only once, but actually twice. And in its last variant, this version, and its last 3 years of production, Dodge was selling only 700 a year in the entire world. And that is what ultimately led them to canceling this vehicle. Now, if history has any sort of indication for you, vehicles that end up getting canceled are usually just way ahead of their time. I don't think the world was ready for a vehicle with performance and sophistication and track manners and power like the Dodge Viper, and we've seen it in recent years. You see, in the final years of the Dodge Viper, dealerships were discounting these over $15,000 because they couldn't sell them. Well, guess what? Who's laughing now? Because the values of Vipers have absolutely skyrocketed. To get a low kilometer Viper 5th gen GTS like this one, you're looking to pay over $200,000 Canadian for a vehicle that dealerships couldn't give away, only 10 years ago. So if you ever get an opportunity to get a good deal on a Viper, it's pretty much a safe bet. This vehicle is not only sexy, high performance, but in its 5th gen version, the most comfortable version and the nicest version you'll ever see.